You've probably heard the saying about somebody who did a good deed. He was a good Samaritan. Where do you think this saying came from? Well, it actually comes from a famous story that Jesus told. Once a religious teacher came to Jesus to test Jesus. And he asked him, kind of arrogantly, I think, he said, "What do I have to do to have eternal life?" And Jesus said, "Well, you ought to know. What do you say?" And the man said, "Well, you should love God with all your heart and soul and mind and strength, and your neighbor as yourself." And Jesus said, "You've spoken correctly. Do that, and you will live." But the man wanted to justify himself, so he said, "Well, who is my neighbor?" And then Jesus told this story, one of his most famous stories. He said, there was a man going along on a trip, and he was attacked by robbers. They beat him up and took everything he had and left him half dead by the side of the road. And then a religious priest came by. He saw the man laying there, but he hurried by on the other side. And another person who was a religious person came by, and he went around him too. But then a man came along who was a member of a minority group that was looked down upon in that place. He was a Samaritan. But he had mercy on the man who was hurt. And he tried to take care of him, and then he took him in to get medical help where he could recover, and he paid for it. So then Jesus asked the religious leader, he said, "Now, who would you say was a neighbor to the man in need?" And the guy said, "Well, I suppose it was the one who showed mercy." And Jesus said, "You're right. Now you go and do the same." So this parable of Jesus, like some of his, had a hook in it, like a fish hook. Because he said, "Now you go and do the same." This is Jesus' famous parable called the parable of the Good Samaritan. And that's how we got that saying in our culture. By the way, I think you and I better go and do the same, don't you?